The S23 Ultra is going to be here very, very soon. You're going to be able to pre-order it when it's announced officially on February the 1st. And you might be holding on to one of these guys, the S22 Ultra, sitting there wondering, do I really need an S23 Ultra? Now, for those of you out there who are on the fence, who are trying to make a decision, hopefully this video will be helpful for you. For those of you who want to save money, this video will be helpful for you. And for those of you who are already convinced you're going to get one like me, well, stop watching this and go watch something else. No, really, leave it on. I'd like the watch time. But anyway, talking about the S22 Ultra, we are kind of stuck in this pattern. Us tech enthusiasts, people who make YouTube videos, live a little bit different life than normal folks who go into an AT&T or a T-Mobile store and get a new phone every 3 years. So it might be foreign to you to talk about the idea of a $1,200 phone, $1,199 minimum introductory price, and then getting another one just a year later. And trying to fathom that and wrap your head around it because, one, it doesn't sound like a very good fiscally responsible decision, and two, you hear us complaining all the time there's not that big of an update. And the reason there's not that big of an update is because most phones are not intended for year-over-year upgrades. If you keep watching something over and over and over, the image doesn't change that much. If you take a look, and this was popular, maybe it still is, where you used to have people who take a picture for an entire year, right? And you take a look at the picture beforehand, and then you take a look at the picture at the end. And sometimes there's a little bit of a difference. Sometimes there's a lot of bit of a difference, depending on what happens. But if you watch it every single day, it doesn't really look like there's a whole lot of change. You have to look at it over a longer scope of time. And that's kind of how we look at phones, or how we should look at them, at least from a reasonableness perspective, because there's not a lot of groundbreaking stuff that happens year over year, absent some huge technological breakthrough, which quite honestly, the biggest technological breakthrough we've had in the last couple of years is somehow companies getting you to pay more and more money for the same phones. Like, $1,200 for one of these phones. But all that aside, all the joking aside, I'm excited about the S23 Ultra. And if you want to pick one up, you can reserve it now and get $50 of free Samsung credit if you decide to pre-order it through Samsung. There's a link in the description. You can use that. And if you decide to pre-order 2 devices, which in a fiscal responsibility video, I don't think anybody's going to do that, but they'll give you $100 of Samsung credit if you pre-order it. Anyway, link in the description. Moving on. The S22 Ultra is a fantastic phone, and I've been complaining throughout the year about a couple different things, mostly because, well, it doesn't last me all day. Now, it does a lot better now. When it first came out, first couple of months, battery life was not so good. And this was even when they were still using the game optimization software to throttle things and to run things at lower clock speeds, the stuff they got in trouble for, and that they got the phones for the last 3 generations pulled off of the benchmarks list. But, very good phone. I mean, it's got a beautiful screen. It's got such a great design. Samsung decided to use it again for the S23 Ultra. They're mostly indistinguishable. And I got to tell you, a couple new colors. I'm going to show you the picture here. There's basically this pink color, which I'm hoping looks more purple in real life. Then there's the green, the cream color, which is more kind of like a beige, creamish color, and then the black. They look okay. Maybe not the most inspiring ever, but if you like the phone colors you have now, well, hold on to it another year, and then you don't have to worry about that problem. But also, there were some really good, really good colors for the S22 Ultra, i.e. the white one, i.e. also the burgundy one. Fantastic looking devices. So if you're happy with the one you have now and you don't really want to change, you're not really missing out on a whole lot, other than they're going to add a 200 megapixel camera and it's going to get the Snapdragon 8 Generation 2. Now, if you don't care about technological advancements and hardware and stuff like that, then you really don't care. Hang on to the S22 Ultra. But the reason that there's a new chip every year, there are always things that are being upgraded. They upgrade the graphics processor, they upgrade the tensor unit type stuff that handles all the algorithmic based equations and the machine learning and the AI to get better at that. They upgrade the processor speeds and just all the stuff that makes everything in your phone run faster and do things better. Well, you might have noticed that over the last couple of years, there's not really that big of a change. And that's because we've been running at almost 3 gigahertz processors for a couple of years. There's nothing really on the phones that push them to the max. And if they do, it's not a power issue from a lack of power perspective. It's a battery and a heat related issue. So that's the big thing. If you find yourself with using your phone, if it gets hot, if you burn through the battery very quickly, if it doesn't last you all day, that's the big consideration for the S23 Ultra. That's one of the reasons I'm excited about it, because this new Snapdragon 8 Generation 2 It's supposed to do better battery and power efficiency, have better heat management, not supposed to get as warm, should last longer. They both have a 5,000 milliamp battery. We already know this. The S23 Ultra will have 5,000 milliamps. The S22 Ultra has 5,000. But it's how you use them. And with the new Snapdragon 8 Generation 2 over the 8 Generation 1, there are improvements there. And I can testify to this because just with the Snapdragon 8 Plus Generation 1, there's been big improvements in that just with the Fold 4 and the Flip 4. So that's what makes me excited about it. Do I care a lot about a 200 megapixel camera? Not really. I really don't. I've said this in several videos. I'd like them to improve the shutter lag and fix that as opposed to giving me 200 megapixels. There's not a whole lot there. 108 megapixels, 100 times zoom, already take wonderful pictures of the moon. Yes, the new one is supposed to have better low light photography, foreseeably better astrophotography stuff. But at the end of the day, how many people are actually taking 200 megapixel photos? A lot of people think they're taking a 200 megapixel photo until they realize it's on default where it bends down to 12 and you're still taking the exact same photos going, oh my gosh, look at this 200 megapixel image that you took at 12 megapixels and don't even realize it. So if you don't care a lot about photos, if you don't care a lot about low light photos, there's not really a whole lot of benefit you're going to get out of this phone. And they talk about how it's got a huge improvement. So the GPU is supposed to be like 50% more powerful in certain areas than the one in the S22 Ultra, at least based off what I was reading. If I remember correctly, yeah, it's really cool. But it's still going to run Apex pretty much the same way. It's still going to run Fortnite pretty much the same way. The GPU, though, is good. And a lot of people don't understand what the GPU does. Inside of a smartphone, you have a system on a chip. It's basically the CPU, and then the machine learning processor, and then the image signal processor, which helps with the videos and the pictures and all that stuff. And then you get the GPU, the graphics processor unit, and the modem. All that packed into one chip. So if you think about how your computer works, you've got a graphics card, you've got a power supply unit, you've got a processor, you've got separate memory. Most of that stuff is all built into the same chip. And just kind of farms everything out in-house, and it works out really, really well because it's an ARM-based processor. For instance, you might have a 200-watt graphics card that demands that much power in your computer, whereas the graphics processor inside of a SoC in your phone uses less than 10 watts. So that's how it does all that stuff. It's just really amazing. It's a whole completely different, complicated conversation about different types of chipsets. But yes, the new GPU is supposed to be a lot better. That's going to help out with AR stuff. If you don't care about playing Pokemon Go, if you don't care about AR, virtual reality stuff, if you don't care about gaming, if you don't care about photo processing and 200 megapixel photos, you probably aren't going to care very much about the new camera. And again, a big emphasis on low light. And they seem to be doing more emphasis on low light. A lot of times, I don't even take very many pictures for reviews in low light because I just don't care. I take some just so I can show them off, but I don't really like the idea of taking a photo that looks like daytime during the nighttime because it's not realistic. It's just not realistic at all. But also taking a picture in the darkness isn't, well, you're not going to see anything. So I don't know, call me an old fogey, but I just don't get my jollies from low light photos. And I don't go out a lot of places where I'm like, oh, let me capture this dark, dimly lit moment where I'm out drinking a beer with my friends. Which, I mean, well, if I had friends and if I drank beer. But you can get the picture. I'm sure some people go and do those things and think it's cool. And if you think that stuff's cool, then by all means, get yourself an S23 Ultra. But also, the S22 Ultra takes pretty good low-light photos. It's one of the best phones for taking low-light photos. So, all this to say, yes, it'll be cool. There's some new things if you're a tech enthusiast. If you're due for an upgrade, like if you're sporting an S10, an S9, an S8, yes, get yourself this phone. You're going to fall in love with it, and you'll probably get a good incentive through your carrier. And you'll probably get good trade-in value if you have a more recent phone. And that's I want to bring some of this reality back into that. Most people don't go get new phones every year. But Samsung gives amazing trade-in deals. And they're probably going to give $900, $1,000 trade-in credit for an S22 Ultra just looking at past history, which means you only have to pay about $300 out of pocket to get the new one. So for me, that's an exciting proposition because I like to get the new one, the latest and greatest. It's just how I am. It's how I've always been. I like to have the latest technology. It's just, that's what gives me my jollies. That's what I get excited about. That's why I make videos. And then I can make videos all year long for you guys. So if you really just have to get one, if you've got an S22 Ultra, you know the name of the game. trade the sucker into Samsung, get your $1,000 trade-in credit, get your Samsung credit so you can get your accessories and stuff, pay your $300, move on with life, and then enjoy your phone. But if you don't care, if you're not in a position to upgrade, if you're sitting there on the fence saying, should I upgrade? I mean, is it really that big of a difference? Well, one, you can wait for the phone to get here and you can see, because I can't review it for you right now. I will when I get mine. But based off of past history, understanding how the hardware works, understanding the life cycle of these phones, they're good for 5 years. 4 years of operating system updates, 5 years of security patches. And if you get rid of it in year one, it's actually better now than it was a year ago. It's better on battery life, better on efficiency. One UI 5 is markedly improved. There's new feature sets they've added to it. It's a better phone than it was a year ago. So really, 2 to 3 years is about the magic sweet spot for these. If you kind of like to get the maximum benefit out of upgrading and getting something that you can tangibly feel, that feels like a new phone and maybe some exciting new things, but also from a financial perspective works out a little bit better. Plus, 2 to 3 years, you still kind of average out and you got good value for your investment, but also you'll get decent trade-in value still. So if you're sitting around wondering about it, no, you don't need the S23 Ultra. I try to tell myself that, but I gave up years ago. So I will get it. I don't know what color yet. Kind of on the fence about that to see which one I'm going to get. But that's the whole moral of the story. If you're sitting back there wondering, look, just waiting for somebody to show up on a video and say, hey, dude, you don't need to buy this. This is the video, and hopefully I help you. And if not, then, well, make sure you use my link so I can get the affiliate credit for it. Anyway, so I'm going to wrap this one up, but I just wanted to take a moment and pause before all the craziness gets here. And basically a week. And we're basically about a week away from the announcement. So I wanted to have this conversation and let you know, okay, it's okay. It's okay if you don't upgrade, because it may not even necessarily be that much of an upgrade for you. And if you're really happy with your S22 Ultra, keep it. It's a good phone. Get yourself a new case and treat yourself, because a new case can really go a long way in making your phone feel brand new all over again. And a new screen protector if you've got one a bunch of scratches, or if it's got cracked glass or something. That right there. Spend 20, 30 bucks and church it up and spruce your phone up and enjoy the experience for another year. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, please go to the comment section. I will get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, if you found this helpful, if you like this stuff, then please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out, which is every day. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.